So we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. And, oops. Okay. The minutes were previously sent out. So I will entertain a motion to approve our December 6th commission meeting minutes.
So move.
All righty. Is there a second?
A second.
All right. It's been properly moved and seconded that we would approve the minutes of our meeting on December 16th. Is there any objection? Any concerns? The motion is properly before us. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. I have not heard an opposition. I therefore consider the minutes to be approved. Okay, we're going to move straight on to the council's report for any cases, and then we'll go into our legislative session.
All right, thank you.
Council.
Good morning. So just a few updates on our documented cases. Currently, we have 4, Kawatachi and Dietrichs versus Elite Builders LLC. The contested case hearing is set for next week, Tuesday. It'll probably be a few days in length. And then right after that, we have another case, Kawatachi/Payne versus Wagner. That one will be heard in Hilo on next week, Friday, January 30th. And then we have Kawatachi and Resurrection versus Case Drive-In. That case is set to be heard on February 12th. And one thing I'll just let the commissioners know, just to make note of, so for contested case hearings, there's a deadline to hold the contested case hearing after docketing. The 180-day deadline to hold the hearing in the Resurrection case is February 23rd. So if the case does get extended, if there's any reason or council moves to continue the case to a later date, there might be a motion presented to the commissioners to grant an extension of time to hear the case. So that one might be coming up, but I know we do have commission meetings weekly, in the next few weeks. So that might be something we might have to address later. And then the last case, Kawatachi and Diaz versus Masunagas. It's a housing case, so Commissioner Mueller is recused, I believe. Legal aid had represented the complainant. That contested case hearing is set for April 20th. So those are the updates.
Thank you very much. Any questions or concerns from the commissioners? Okay, hearing none, seeing none, we will move on to our legislative session. And I think that that's all we plan to truly cover today. So let's move on to the legislative session. And you all received the packets in advance. Hopefully everyone had a chance to kind of at least do a brief review. And I'm going to turn it over now so we can go ahead and move to that.
Okay, so, Marcus is actually at the ledge right now for a budget briefing, which is why he couldn't be here. I was actually hoping we can get all of the, general commission business done today, because we kind of know that early on, session hasn't even started yet. It begins tomorrow. It's usually a little bit lighter, and then we have a lot more robust discussion once, the session starts. So it's a learning process to perfect the timing on when we can hold commission meetings, to have our discussions and, decide on positions, to submit testimony, but also to comply with the notice requirements of the sign-on law. So it looks like we're a little bit off again this year. So this actually might be a really nice, just very short meeting to discuss, just in general, what we anticipate will happen. The board packet that was provided contained the HCRC's, backed bill on our statute of limitations, but also the potential of carryover bills from last year's session. So, we can discuss that a little bit. We do anticipate that looking at the 20 bills filed in 2025, we will anticipate that there's probably going to be similar bills, if not the same bills, to be carried over dealing with, our current political climate, or bills that have been introduced regularly over the past few years. In the commission packet, we had HB 22 and HB 457, which dealt with ICE enforcement in, Hawaii, and whether or not our state officials would comply with, certain situations in which our state law enforcement agency would comply with those enforcement agencies. HB, and this is all from 2025, HB 831, SB 59 dealt with the regulation of artificial intelligence or algorithmic discrimination. So probably in the near future, or this coming session, we'll see a lot more bills about that because just of the explosion of use of chatbots and AI. Just in general, bills on the Sunshine Law, which impact us as a commission, as a board. We usually monitor. We don't always testify on those bills, but we definitely keep track of it, just to see if it will impact us in the future. And I don't know. Heather, do you have any other ideas on what we might be able to expect during this session?
Yeah, sure. Well, we are taking a look at what has been pre-filed thus far, and it looks like for next week's meeting, we already have maybe around 20 bills that we think the commission may want to consider. So, we'll be working as diligently as we can to get your position on bills ahead of time so that if and when hearings are scheduled with that 48-hour notice, we'll be prepared to engage meaningfully on the commission's behalf with your wishes and your positions. So it's kind of a catch-22 that we get your position on everything and then only certain bills get heard, but I think it's better that we're prepared ahead of time, but it will be quite a bit of bills to go through. So we do appreciate everyone's participation in reviewing the packet ahead of time so that we at least have this, so that you're apprised of the bills that we're going to present, and hopefully we'll come to decision on those in a more efficient manner, just so that everyone can, just so that we can have positions ready to go when the time presents itself to participate, because we will appear and note that the staff might have a recommended position, but obviously it's not meaningful until we have your folks' position on things. So, but as far as the bills I'm seeing, a lot of them are repeats and things that we have opined on in the past or declined to opine on. There's a lot of the, again, sanctuary city type of bills regarding participation with federal entities. Some more interesting and newer ones that I've seen coming up. So for next week's meeting, I think we'll present some novel bills for consideration. But hopefully we'll put together a packet that will allow you to kind of check that out ahead of time easily. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Deputy. Quick question for us as a matter of process, and Fritz, I see your hand up, so give me a second here and I'll call on you. As a matter of protocol, and also just to keep the public informed, if we have taken positions and we're kind of standing by and we are in between our weekly commission meetings and there is something that we want to opine, could you or one of you all kind of share what would be that process? Or would we submit testimony late?
So generally what happens is during our commission meetings, the commissioners will vote on the bill, whether or not to support, oppose, provide comments, and then staff will draft up the testimony and submit it to the legislature based on what was discussed, and what the position of the commissioners are. And while we try to be, as accurate as possible, and Heather was mentioning, we are keeping track of bills that, impact civil rights or discrimination. We may miss a hearing, and because there is a quick turnaround, 48 hours is very short notice. But the good thing is it's not the end of the world, so usually there's multiple hearings. And once we know, then we can submit testimony. Occasionally, there is something, a bill might slip through and staff will catch it before the hearing. In that case, there may be staff recommendation or staff, not recommendation, but staff comments submitted to the legislature. And then at the next commission meeting, we'll report back on it. And in the testimony, we'll mention that this is based on staff comments, and the commission still has to meet on the actual bill and decide on a position. So of bills that are important that for some reason slipped through the cracks and weren't discussed at a commission meeting, we can catch it and then report back on it, at the next commission meeting.
Okay, thank you. Two reasons for kind of making sure we were clear. One, in this critical climate that we're in nationally, we could or should expect some short fused legislation may be on the floor, and I want everyone to be clear on what that process would look like. Okay, so thank you. Fritz, did you have a question? I saw your hand was up.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Different headset, so thank you for your patience. I came into the meeting a little late, so I'd just like to make a few comments about things that are happening with the deafblind task force, two bills which I believe are being followed by the HCRC. The first is that all of the bills that were submitted for the deafblind task force will be resubmitted by Senator Sam Buenaventura. The two that are there would be SB 1496, which adopts the standards for accessibility of 2.1, as well as 2.11 or anything in the future. So it has a drafting problem, but the bill that will be submitted will be essentially the same as a conference draft one. The other one is SB 1493, which is Senator Rhodes' bill regarding emotional support animals requiring some sort of knowledge. As far as other bills that I haven't seen the drafts of yet, but I understand will be submitted, one of which is a bill to simplify the agenda issues for meeting, because right now you might have 3 pages of rules about how to submit testimony before you've even decided if you want to accept it, and it moves certain information to the beginning, and it, such as on page 9, the accommodation clause appears on page 9 after everything else above the meeting. So if you want an accessibility accommodation, you basically have to go through 9 pages of it. Especially difficult if you're going through it with JAWS and have to read through and listen to it, read the whole program to you. Another bill will be wheelchair accessibility, but I don't believe that that will impact upon the HCRC. And those are like the only bills that I would think would be there. As far as 1496, which is the adoption of 2.1, which is going into effect for federal governments, for state and local governments. 2.1 is the WCAG World Accessibility Guidelines worldwide. And so that applies to state and local government, but that was done by regulation. And many of the provisions that were in the government regulations, which are now being applied to anyone that has their own website, are are being put into the statute without all of the exceptions that are there. And I suggested that the HCRC write regulations on that and follow the path of the federal government. And I know you've got a lot to cover, and I know that I can say a lot more than you probably want to hear. That was a joke. So I'll stop with that. But if those bills come forward, I will try and appear at the bills and as well as to offer comments when they come up before the HCRC. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much, as always, for your input. Commissioner Miller, I recognize you.
Thanks. Just a couple of questions. So on the agenda, it says that our proposed bill is in the board packet, but it's not.
Oh, it's not? Okay, I
Missing it, or
apologize.
unless I'm.
Okay.
We just have the carryover bills. Is that is
Okay.
Yeah, it's 4 pages and it's links for the carryovers.
Okay.
okay. And then just that note. And then just in terms of procedure, when there are carryover bills that we have previously voted on and had a position on, are we going to have some sort of way are we going to carry that over, or are we going to have to redo our vote? I get it, and I think it differs by commission chair, I think, right? So I just would note that, yeah.
Okay, let me ask the question. In other agencies or organizations, we reaffirm our previous position. And I'm asking General Counsel and others now, would that a protocol be appropriate? That's what I'm used to. I just want to make sure here that we would be in order to reaffirm our previous position.
Yes. So I believe we had a little bit of discussion on this issue in November last year when we were kind of prepping for the 2026, legislative session. Let's see. And it looks like, according to our minutes, the commission unanimously approved the motion that HCRC staff be authorized to identify bills that are identical or substantially similar to bills introduced in the previous session and submit testimonies consistent with the commission positions. So yeah, I believe it's still appropriate because that's all, open to the public. Commission positions are recorded in our minutes of last year. And I believe we even put commission or at least staff recommendation in, the bills that are carried over from last year as well.
Okay, and so the list of carryover bills that are in the board packet are just is this just informational, or is this like this is what we voted on and
we're hoping we'd have more discussion, but like I said, sometimes our timing is off. In previous years, when we had our January meetings, it was always after session had started. We were trying to get a jump on it with pre-filed bills. It didn't go, as planned. So unfortunately, that's where it is. But I can, not to change the subject, I can show the House bill on the HCRC's proposal to extend its statute of limitations. And I apologize, I thought it went out in the board packet.
So while you're doing that, 2 things. One, Commissioner Miller, was that all your questions?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. And so just to clarify again and make sure we're all good, we will not have to revote on previous positions. Staff has been empowered to reaffirm what we've already adopted as our position. So those can move forward. We have proposals of how many proposals do we have? The one for the House?
So I'm not sure if you guys are seeing.
We see you starting to come up.
Right. So we have been talking, so this one was Representative Tarnas has agreed to submit this House bill, and then I believe Senator Rhodes on the Senate side will have a companion bill for this. As you can see, it's very clear, it's very simple. There's no extra language. It just extends the statute of limitations to file a complaint of discrimination from 180 days to a year after the last date of unlawful discriminatory practice or last occurrence of a pattern of ongoing discriminatory practice. So it's very clear to understand what we're trying to do. We don't anticipate there being too much opposition. There might be some opposition, from people who will argue that it makes it harder for them to keep records, because, in cases of termination, they would have to keep it for a longer period of time. They might get rid of records. But if you look at it, in the context of what other legal rights people have, torts, you can have up to 2 years to file, against anything. So it's not unheard of to just extend it to a year. We have currently, and correct me if I'm wrong, Heather, work share agreements with federal agencies, the federal EEOC for employment cases and HUD for housing discrimination cases. And for those cases that are dual filed, in the past, it had been 300 days anyways to file a complaint of discrimination. So extending it to a year after the date is not a huge increase in time. It's not something that people can't anticipate happening because it, had been how things had happened in the past. And in this way, it will ensure that people who may not be or any longer protected by federal law will have an opportunity to file those complaints of discrimination with our state agency, the HCRC, because we have an expansive protections for groups of people. So.
Okay. All right. And I just want to note Marcus has joined us now. So thank you. So for this, just so everyone is on the same sheet, this right here, which hasn't come yet, we're already good with this, or are you asking today for us to do anything more with this? Because this is our agreement. We already had lengthy discussion on this.
Now that we have the language and the actual, pre-filed bill, the staff strongly supports this bill. So we would ask the commission to vote on their position, discuss, but we would suggest and recommend that we support this bill and its companion that hasn't come out yet, in the Senate.
Okay. So with that, commissioners, I will entertain a motion to support this proposed legislation in the House and a similar companion bill in the Senate.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded that we would support the proposed legislation. The question is properly before us. Question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All right. Those opposed have the same right. Then we are in unanimous consent, unanimous that is, with this proposed legislation and a companion bill in the Senate. Okay, thank you, commissioners. All right, General Counsel, that would be it for now, correct?
Yes, unless Marcus has anything to share.
Okay. Oh, absolutely. We will move on. Well, before we go to the final section, Marcus, do you want to make any comments?
No comps. I didn't think I was going to be able to make this meeting, and I'm glad to be able to. The budget briefing I was in went started early and was short, so I'm here. But it sounds like we've already taken action on our major bill, and I'm pleased with that. So I don't have anything further.
Thank you. You have very capable staff that moved everything way before you got here. So good job to everybody on this team and to the commissioners as well. With that, we'll go into our next session. The dates are before us for us to start our weeklies and move on down the road here. We will try to, staff, we will try to, as we move into February, and we will need to have these frequency. I would like for us to pick and get consensus, at least to have 3 meetings out so that folks can maintain a known schedule. That's going to be important for us for support, particularly being able to reach a quorum. So right now we have 3. So our duty now will be, before we convene again, is to get at least 2 more days on the document, and we will look to council and staff for their recommendations on those days. And then we'll send that out to the commissioners for concurrence, and then we'll have some dates that we can block off our calendars.
Chair,
And
sorry. I've
go
already
ahead.
informed staff that I will be unavailable the first week of February. I'm
Okay,
traveling for work.
understand. So then we'll lean heavily on the remainder of the commissioners to ensure we have quorum. Okay. Anything else? I appreciate that. Fritz was on and gave his public announcement and comments. So is there any other unreadiness by staff or commissioners? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All righty then. Thank everyone that came out and support over the weekend. And with that, consider yourselves adjourned. See you next week.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.